For a long time, the way people hired SDRs was pretty much the same everywhere. You'd post a job, hire a handful of cheap but hungry reps, and then give them like 4 to 6 months to produce pipeline, hit their quota, knowing full well that most of them would either get fired or quit before they ever hit quota. But that approach doesn't work anymore. Buyers pick up the phone way less often than they used to. Not to mention email and other forms of outreach are struggling. And that's making the cost of one bad hire go through the roof. So you need a better approach that works in today's market, which is exactly what I've developed through hiring, placing, training, and onboarding over 30 senior SDRs in the last year for companies like Precoro, FrontEgg, OffDeal, WPromote, Factify, and many more. And in this video, I want to walk you through the copy-paste process we use to hire those SDRs to not only guarantee that they're producing pipeline on day one, but that they stick around for the long term, continuously producing revenue. All right, let's get into it. All right, now before we can talk about how to hire, there's a reason that most SDRs fail before they ever pick up the phone. And it actually has nothing to do with the person, the rep. People don't fix bad systems. Founders try to hire salespeople or SDRs, hoping and praying that they're going to be their pipeline savior, but there's no savior coming. Hiring instead of doing the work to build a predictable and repeatable pipeline system first is backwards. First test and then build the system before putting talent in. You wouldn't hire a race car driver without the car and the engine and the fuel and all the components being ready, expecting the driver without the pieces or the car to actually go drive a race. Reps are there to help you find and scale the demand capture. They're not meant to create demand themselves. Let me explain. There is no amount of money that you can pay a rep or an agency, and there's no amount of skill that an individual can have to come into an empty organization and build real pipeline from nothing. And if you try, you end up spending 6 figures on headcount that never had a chance at performing. So before you post your next job, there are 3 things that you need to have in place first. The first is your list. Companies and people you're going to target, and the information like phone numbers to get a hold of them. And I mean a list that has already been scored for reachability. Every list has 3 statuses. Target accounts and contacts are the people or companies I want to sell to. Workability, do I have a way to get a hold of them, a phone number, an email, something, and reachability. If I try to call that number, do they actually answer? You want to make sure these new reps aren't just calling off of a list you pulled from ZoomInfo or Apollo, because they're going to get a 2, maybe 3% connect rate. Now, the second thing is a script framework with messaging that's already been pre-tested with your actual prospects so that you already know how they respond to it. Pre-tested script converts way better than a rep who's left to their own devices to figure out what to say, or an untested script. And finally, and arguably most importantly, all the tools and components that work together that the rep will use. Automations and workflows so that the rep doesn't have to waste time on admin work, a dialer that doesn't show up as spam, a CRM that's able to capture everything that's going on moment to moment, and a follow-up system that makes it easy to know you're never going to miss a follow-up activity. Now, when any of these are missing, what ends up happening is it falls to the rep to figure it all out, which is the fastest way to pay someone to do something they're not good at. So now, instead of executing with revenue generating activities, you have a rep building a list. You have a rep trying to configure their own tools. You have a rep trying to come up with a script. Think about that for a second. You're paying someone to do a job that they end up spending maybe an hour or 2 a day actually doing. The rest of their day is spent trying to set themselves up for success in that job, which they're not skilled at. So obviously when 4 to 6 months pass, you're ready to fire them because they're not performing and the pipeline's not there, or they've already quit. And the real problem is that they were set up to fail from day one. So the rule I tell every founder that we work with is the same. You should already have enough live conversations with your prospects to know that the system works, the script is clean, and that the support systems like list building are already part of the organizational DNA before you hire a full-time rep. One of our clients, FrontEgg, had a team of 4 SDRs when they reached out to us. We ran a proof of concept and showed them that we were able to have about 25 to 30 conversations in 1 hour of cold calling with a script that worked in our system that we would build for them. That whole team was let go. They brought us in and we found a part-time fractional cold caller to go test the script, the system, and some theories about which prospects would be a good fit. A few months later, they had us go to the market and find a full-time senior SDR. That rep has consistently been booking 2 to 3 meetings every single day. And on some days, he's having 50 or 60 conversations with prospects. They replaced a failed team of 4 and a manager with 1 rep in our system. Now, this is exactly why before before anyone works with us, we actually get on the phones with your real prospects and show you things like what your actual connect rate, reach rate, meeting scheduled rate are, all before you ever spend another dollar on hiring. So if you want to run our outbound go-to-market diagnostic, where my partner Ryan and I will actually call your prospects with you live in our system, click the first link in the description below and book a call with us. All right, now let's keep going. All right, so you're ready to hire. Let's talk about the profile and the key traits that I actually look for, because bringing in the right person is half the battle at this point. The first is what I call high SDR IQ. This is someone who can learn quickly. They're very coachable. And when you give them feedback, you see how they take it and use it to improve. But Einstein level SDR IQ is actually about finding the small patterns that continue to unlock better conversion rates at every step of the outbound process. One great example of this is someone who figures out how to make a small tweak where they've been stuck 20, 30, 40 times in a row on calls in order to get past that point. Over 80% of the SDRs that we place for our clients beat their quota. And this trait is one of the biggest reasons why. Now, the second trait is a hunter mindset paired with what we like to call situational awareness. Unlike a farmer or an order taker, a hunter is someone who enjoys the thrill of the connect and the chase. And they're consistently looking for another hit. They want to get another kill. Now, situational awareness is a form of SDR IQ, but it's so important that I like to single it out. It means that if I'm connected on the phone with someone and I hear in the background noise the sound of a meeting going on, I'll ask, hey, am I catching you in the middle of a meeting right now, or do you have a moment to chat? Or if I hear the sound of a car, I can say, you know, if you're driving, I can try you back another time. Situational awareness also means being able to actively listen to what a prospect says to you at any point in the call and respond to what they say instead of trying to just stay on script, which often comes off as robotic. You need both, because a hunter without situational awareness might consistently go call and be a high activity performer, but their success on the phone is going to be super limited. And someone with great situational awareness but doesn't have that hunter mindset will be satisfied with a half day's worth of work. Now, the final trait that I look for is not as much of a trait as much as it is commitment. Now, not too long ago, I was running a team of 25 SDRs at a company called Security Scorecard, and I remember one of the reps that I'd hired who showed a lot of promise, and the very first thing he said to me was, hey, so how do I get promoted to an AE as fast as possible? Although there's nothing wrong with wanting a promotion, looking at this job as a stepping stone to something else means that the person will likely give up when it gets hard because they don't actually want to get great at this job. They have something else in mind. You will get phenomenal reps in the role for over 2-3 years if you screen for this one thing, their commitment to the role as it is day in and day out. Now, on the flip side of this, some of the red flags I look for of what you want to filter out for are people who show signs that they're going to struggle with the day-to-day job requirements. Things like they can't handle rejection well, they're not great verbal communicators, and they're expected to be on the phone all day long. People who blame everyone else for their problems or struggle to take coaching and improve because they think they know what's right, and anything else that shows that they might not have the work ethic required to show up day in and day out for this specific job. Now, you definitely don't need perfect here, and I've seen too many managers, myself included, looking for all sorts of unrelated things, either as reasons why they don't want to hire someone, looking for the perfect unicorn, or for reasons they do, and it has nothing to do with the job itself. Now, if you're not going to work with a company like ours that will go pre-test your market and build the engine for you, then don't hire one SDR. You should definitely hire 2 or more to start. The reason's pretty simple. You'll have someone to compare. You'll be able to compare the 2 reps to know if your problems are rep, system, or something else, and you take the risk off of one hire who for all sorts of reasons could not work out. Now, the exception to this rule is if you're going to hire someone who's a true founding SDR with maybe managerial and RevOps experience that can actually be involved in thinking through your process, systems, and building it. Or if you're going to have us do that work for you and use the engine that we'll build, like the story with Front Egg. Let's shift to the interview process that we use. Now, where most companies mess up the interview process is by hiring based on things like their resume, interviews over Zoom or in person, rather than actually testing the skills that are going to be required day in and day out. Not surprisingly, the typical timeline to hire could be 3 months from when the job is originally opened until the time when someone is actually in the role, day 1, making calls. So I'm going to share with you our exact interview process that turns the hiring timeline into 3 to 6 weeks at most, from job open to day 1 in the role, with high quality and reliable talent. The first thing I'm looking for is background and experience cold calling, because we hire cold callers. Anyone with less than 2 years of experience cold calling or adjacent experience like door knocking or any other kind of direct sales role is probably going to have a really large learning curve, and the risk is really high with these kinds of candidates. On the application itself, I ask people to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of their cold calling skills, and then share how many years experience they have cold calling, ideally in B2B SaaS or similar types of roles. And I always say, if you want to stand out, send me call recording examples of calls that you've already had. The next step in our process for the people who pass all the things we're looking for in the application is I get on a phone call with them. I call their cell phone. If they don't answer, I text, leave a voicemail, DM them on LinkedIn, and email them, letting them know that I tried to reach them. After 2, at most 3 attempts of trying to get a hold of someone, if I can't, I move on from that candidate. 80% of the time, people will reach back out within a few hours if I didn't reach them the first time. Now, here's what I'm doing on that phone call. It's a 5 to 10 minute phone call. It replaces the need to schedule an interview, get on an interview, and spend 30 minutes or more chit-chatting with somebody. The first thing I ask is why they're looking to leave their current role, or if they're not in a role, what they've been up to. This is a really important question to understand their commitment level and what's going on. Sometimes you'll uncover things here that can be immediate red flags. Other times you'll actually get the full story that's really important in understanding why it looks like they have a short tenure in their current role. Then I tell them about the role and what makes a successful rep, and I explain the next step of the process to them. The next step of the process is live cold calling. That's right. I explain to them that we're going to give them the list, the script, the dialer. We're even going to set them up a day before to make sure that the tech is all ready to go. They'll have everything that they need. They'll even have call recordings to listen to of other people making calls. The expectation is that they're going to show off their skill. Now, right then and there, some people on the phone call will say, that's not for me, and move on. Great. Other people will say, that sounds awesome. I love the opportunity to show off my skills. And usually 50% of the people who schedule end up ghosting or canceling before the live calling session. Now, the people who show up are the ones who really want to prove that they've got what it takes. And in this 2 to 3 hour long live calling session, we're able to get them into 10 to 20 conversations and listen in as they're talking to prospects. I don't care if the outcomes are good or bad. I care about one thing. How well do they take the coaching, and do they demonstrate that situational awareness that we talked about? I'm looking for the very things that we know make for great reps. After that session is complete, I always give people feedback on how they did and whether or not they passed. And then they get introduced to the founder, head of sales for the final round interview. And as long as that goes well, they get an offer. It's a really straightforward process. And it usually takes us 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes up to 6, from the minute a job is posted until the rep is in the seat calling, when most CEOs and founders are spending 3 or more months. Now, one more thing I want to mention, because we put them on the phones before they're hired, they've also had a taste of what the job will be like, which means that they can start on day 1 with even less onboarding. That's exactly why so many of our reps are already productive on day 1. This whole process is designed around identifying the skills, testing them so that you can prove the rep is the right person for the role before your payroll is 3 to 4 months out, and now you realize you've hired the wrong person. So now we've hired the right person, and the next thing to get right is day 1. This is where so many companies waste an entire month or more. The standard onboarding timeline is ridiculous. A few days chit-chatting with people, going through demos, decks, studying playbooks. Week 2, they're shadowing calls. Week 3, they're practicing dials. Week 4, maybe they start making a few real calls. The entire time, that rep is putting up a fat goose egg on the big board. If you hire 2 reps, you've now spent about 20 grand for nothing. You've got to get reps on the phone. Target to get reps on the phone by day 1, no later than day 3. One of the reps we placed recently, Rob, set 2 meetings on his first day with 18 connects and over 100 dials. An SDR does not need deep product knowledge to make cold calls, have conversations, create activations, and set meetings. They just need the right system, list, script, and enough dials to start building some muscle. Now, over time, within those first 3 months, deeper product knowledge will help them continuously improve their ability to go deeper into conversation with prospects. But that will come faster if they've already been on the phones and have lots of experience to draw from. Now, the reason we can put reps on the phones on day 1 and have them be productive is because the system was already built and ready the day the rep walked in. The list is built and scored for reachability. The script was tested, the dialer was set up, and they're now going to spend an hour every day in coaching with us, as well as an extra half hour to hour every day with system and process onboarding. From there, the timeline looks like this. Reps hit 80% or more of their quota by the end of their first month, and they're at quota by month 2. It usually takes a rep 2 to 3 weeks to fully onboard and become fully productive. Compare that to the industry standard of 4 to 6 months, and the main difference is that we're shortening the learning curve by having them call often, call early, and have lots of conversations every time they're calling with a consistent 20 to 30% dial to connect rate. And what's great about this approach, this fast timeline is exactly how you identify and replace non-performers quickly. Because when a rep is able to have 30 to 40 live conversations every day, starting on day one, you'll know within 2 to 3 weeks if they're going to work out or not. You don't have to wait to find out 90 days down the line or even 6 months down the line once they've already missed quota. So if the wrong hire is made, underperformers are swapped out fast, and the top performers get doubled down on and keep doing what they do best, which keeps the overall team strong. If you want us to help you hire and install an SDR team with a 97% success rate on the hire that's generating pipeline within the first 3 weeks, then click the link in the description below and book a call with us. From there, we'll walk you through how we get on the phones and prove the system actually works with your prospects. And we'll understand if the full system install with the tools, the methodology, the rep, the coaching, and the strategy are right for you, or maybe you just need to hire pre-certified cold callers, reps who are guaranteed to be excellent, and we can do that as well. Again, you can book your call by clicking on the link in the description. And if you want to see the new way to do outbound sales, then check out this video right here.